So we've been talking about give and take, and this is my third sermon on the series in an unscheduled adjustment to the plans. Thank you to those who are praying for Andrew. He is doing much better, but doing too much still and regretting it afterwards. So he will be back some point this week, unless he does too much and concludes that he shouldn't be. Yeah, we're getting there. So, give and take and Palm Sunday. I'm going to focus instead on the giving part, on the taking part. And that is a bit counterintuitive, because we spend all of our time talking as good people about how we should give generously. But actually, what about taking? Sometimes taking or accepting a gift is the greatest thing we can do for someone else. Ever had a birthday or a Christmas gift that you really didn't want or like, or thought was, who on earth did they think they were giving it to, but knew that the giver had put a lot of effort and thought into that choice? You knew, because we've been socially conditioned to understand, that to reject that gift would have hurt or upset the person who was giving it. You may subtly re-gift it later. What?
Can you move that one slightly?
You want me to move this one?
That's it.
But my audience is there.
Okay, I didn't line the camera and the microphone. Yes. So the camera is fine, except there's a microphone in your face.
There'll be an editing piece to do, right? We know, because we're taught, that you might give it away again afterwards or donate it to charity some years down the line, but that awful mug that your great aunt Sally gave you will still sit somewhere in importance every time she comes to visit for a while, right? In the same way, accepting a celebration, even hosting it, or a reward allows something that is wonderful to be shared and makes everybody feel better. Few of us enjoy having happy birthday sung to us. There are a couple of extroverts out there that enjoy it. But the point isn't that we enjoy having it sung to us. It's that as a community, we enjoy sharing in someone's birthday. We enjoy sharing each other's success. And as Jesus prepared to enter Jerusalem before Passover, he knew what was coming. So I doubt he was really feeling like he was in a celebratory mood. But he still took the time to celebrate and claim his victory. He sought ways out to both subvert that celebration by riding on a colt rather than a horse and all of those other things, but also to claim it. That city and that town rolled out the proverbial red carpet. Okay, it was palm leaves, not something, not an actual red carpet. Much like we all roll out to celebrate the victories of our time or the people who we want to see. So, I'm not going to make you guess, but that is Victory in Europe Day and Winston Churchill speaking from a balcony. Or it might. But the point, the country came together to celebrate a moment in time. It didn't change. The war was still going on in other parts of the world. The soldiers weren't all home yet. But together, and as the years have gone on, we continue to celebrate that. For some bizarre reason, we have street parties to celebrate it from time to time. Hosted by people who have nothing to do with the events that happen. Because we all like a party. Well, most of us do. I'll accept there are a few people who would prefer not to attend to these things. But actually, as a community, we like getting together, helping each other out, and producing something that's a shared thing. When the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, or Duke and Duchess of Sussex, sorry, visited Sussex, suddenly the streets were closed, people came out to see them. They're just a young couple. If you step back and look at who they are, okay, she's a famous actress. He's a soldier. You know, they know how to dress well, because that's what everybody cares about, right? It's what her shoes are like. But we roll out the proverbial red carpet to see them walk down the street. They don't do anything when they're there. Right? I mean, they might go visit some places and that's important, but yeah, we make a big song and dance about them coming to visit. The local radio becomes obsessed with it. It's a big deal. That's what it was like when Jesus walked into Jerusalem. And he knew that he couldn't walk in his dirty sandals and his robe. He had to ride in. He had to be slightly bigger. We have parades for sports teams so that we can share in their success. Because it's them that's done the hard work. It's not us. You know, all those people who say, oh, my team won. Well, yes. And when Brighton and Hove Albion made the Premiership, I don't watch football, don't worry. But, you know, the city grinds to a halt, and every city around the world whose team of whatever variety wins their championship has exactly the same thing. I was in Chicago when the local team had its victory parade for winning whatever it was winning, and I cannot remember to see how much I care about these things. The point is, people were walking and running to see these buses of these sports people. Because they wanted to celebrate, they wanted to cheer on the people who had made a big difference. This is the last one. This is the Queen's Jubilee. We're basically celebrating with massive street parties and an extra public holiday the fact that the Queen managed to survive long enough to have a Jubilee. Now, you think I'm being facetious, but when Jesus walked into Jerusalem, I'm just going to move on to this one. When Jesus walked into Jerusalem, people wanted to celebrate that he had been radical, that he had changed the narrative, that he changed the conversation, that at a very young age he had changed the world. It's a bit like a politician walking in and saying, I've changed the world. Now Nigel Farage thinks he's changed the world and I'm not convinced it's for the better. Or a civil rights activist who genuinely achieves a change. Jesus was a civil rights activist who walked in and they laid down their red carpet, they put their coats on the road, they shouted and they screamed and they paraded and they thanked him. And his closing line was, if these should be silent, the stones would immediately cry out. We know, everything we know about Jesus is he prefers quiet contemplation. He went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. He went up a hill to get away from the crowds. He went out in a boat to hide from people. He went into the desert to hide from people. We know he does not like the big party and the big celebration. That big party and that big celebration wasn't for his benefit. It wasn't for his benefit. It was because the people needed to see it. Because the disciples needed to experience that moment when their work was recognized. Because people needed to come together in that moment and say, yes, this is what we believe in. Yes, this is what we want. Thank you. And we need to say thank you. And we need to accept the gifts that come to us from those around us, even the ugly mug from Aunt Sally. We've all got someone. I don't have an Aunt Sally, it's okay. Yeah, but we all have that thing that we don't want. Something a child made for us. My mother has some really weird things on her walls and in pride of place. Yeah, we all have those things that we need to accept. And if we can accept those things, then what is our Palm Sunday moment? What is our acceptance of what Jesus has done for us? What is our acceptance and celebration of what God has done for us? And I'm not talking about walking around the church building, singing Hosanna and screaming and shouting, because that has its moments. But that's not this church. Most of us in this church are more comfortable in the quiet contemplation space. That's who we are. But that doesn't mean that we don't have our own gratitude moment, our own way of celebrating, our own way of saying thank you, even for the bits that we're not always keen on at the time. As Andrew would tell you, sometimes his biggest kicks up the backside hurt him in the instant, but they're better in the long run. We need to learn to take as well as to give, to accept God and accept what we are given, and to celebrate that Jesus loves us and Jesus changed the world.